It's Ethan Skolnick here for Before Floor. I didn't screw that up this time. Welcome to the Biscayne Bay show. Somebody hit mute there. We got a little too much going on in the background. So there we go. So welcome to the Biscayne Bay Before Floor show here, extension of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at 5 Reasons Sports and Ethan J. Skolnick. We got Jonathan Ramlichan at 3-Piece Combo, Greg Sylvander at Greg Sylvander, Brady Hawk at Brady Hawk 305, and of course Alejandro Villegas, our producer, Alejandro VG 32. The Miami Heat play the Utah Jazz today. We are sponsored, as always, by our friends over at Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network and the Miami Marlins. Also with kiosks in Miami at the FTX Arena in the 100 level and the 300 level. Make sure you ask for it by name. You get the Tropical Bay IPA, the Pastime Pilsner, the Regatta beer, and also the Marlins Lager and all the other great beers that they sell. This is the independent brewery of South Florida. I know that there used to be another one. They are no longer independent. This is the only one. This is Biscayne Bay Brewing. Check them out at biscaynebaybrewing.com or at your favorite restaurant and also your particular shopping center, supermarket of choice. They sell it at Publix. They sell it at Whole Foods and all those other spots. We're also sponsored by a friend, Mark Brown. You can find him at markbrownpa.com. That's markbrownpa.com for all of your needs when it comes to estate planning, you're closing on a house, all kinds of other attorney services that they offer there. Again, it's markbrownpa.com. Based right there in North Lauderdale, north of Cypress Creek Boulevard, off of Andrews. Again, great staff there. They can do bankruptcy for you if that's something that you need at this time or you want to investigate it. They do handle everything in real estate, again, probate, foreclosures, all across the map. So reach out to Mark. He's a big Miami sports fan, and he's really great to deal with. 954-566-5678 against a free case evaluation, 954-566-5678, and make sure you mention 5 Reasons. All right, let's get to it, guys. The news of the day, I will let Brady deliver it.
Yeah, so Jimmy Butler's out, which I think was kind of expected looking into it. Just kind of, I think Kyle Lowry was a fluke thing that might have been less of a degree of a sprained ankle because just coming back next game is just odd for that type of injury. Markieff Morris went back to South Florida, so he's going to be out for the rest of the road trip. And Bam Adebayo is still questionable. We still don't really know. He's going to go through warm-ups and then kind of go from there. I think the interesting thing, I'm sure we'll get into some lineups, but I think the interesting there is Tyler Herro slotted in for Jimmy Butler before. I don't know if that's possible in a matchup like this, just with the Donovan Mitchell matchup. I think if they're throwing PJ on Mike Conley like they did in the second half last game, I would be expecting a Caleb Martin start at least to try to get in the grill of Donovan Mitchell early.
Yeah, okay, this is none of this is good. Let's just get this out of the way. This road trip has been an abject disaster. If you start from the very beginning of it in Denver, it feels like a long time ago, but what happened there did not play particularly well. And then obviously had the situation with Jokic after the game or during the game, and Markieff Morris has not played since. As you mentioned, he has been sent back, and now you don't know what's happening with Bam, and of course, no Jimmy. Last year, Greg, the no Jimmy minutes were just speaking of disasters, were disaster the whole season. They were like a +6 per 100 possessions when he played, and they were a -5 to -6 when he didn't play. We thought maybe they solved part of the problem this year by bringing in Kyle Lowry, and then Caleb Martin looked like he could do some things that would replicate, that would at least allow you to get through it. But I don't have a whole lot of confidence today. How does Spoelstra, let's assume Bam plays, how does Spoelstra manage sort of the replacement of Jimmy minutes?
I don't think you can. I think that you just have to try to hope that guys shoot above their heads. Maybe the Duncan Robinson game. You need Tyler Herro to step up. I mean, I think that this is a fascinating stat. Jimmy Butler, since 1920, the Heater 78-43 when he plays. That's a 645.
1920, since 2020.
Since 2019.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 1920. Oh, the 1920 season.
Yeah, I was using the abbreviations. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. I thought you meant the 1920
But to my point, they have a 645 winning percentage with Jimmy and a 361 without him. Like, that's not a good sign. And the other thing here is that they've lost in Utah by an average of 20 in the last 3 times they've been there. So that is not good. So I guess I'm telling you all that to say that finding the Jimmy Butler replacement, I think, is daunting enough, but especially in this matchup, they just lost to Indy at home. Like, it has all the writings of the wall of a game that you just want to be over before it starts.
Yeah, and to that end, what Brady's talking about, Jonathan, this idea of Tyler Herro not starting potentially when we just saw him start, and Eric got away from his typical "I'm going to keep the bench rotation" thing intact to get Tyler in the starting lineup. Seemed to actually work in the Clippers game, and they needed him in the starting lineup. If he doesn't start, where exactly do they get offense? And especially if they don't have Bam.
Yeah, if they don't have Bam, I mean, is just going to be really hard because I think Kyle's just going to have to try to create for everyone. And if Duncan continue to shoot the way he is, it's going to be really tough. And with the Clippers game, we saw even with the three guys playing as well as they did, Bam, Tyler Herro, and Kyle Lowry, nobody else was able to help them at all. So if Bam is out, then I don't give us much of a chance for us to win this game. With Rudy Gobert manning the center there, I mean, there's only so much that Dwayne Dedmon can do. We saw the foul trouble problem already. We saw Udonis Haslem minutes. We saw Omer Yurtseven minutes. If any of those guys are in this game, we probably are losing by 20 to 30.
A lot of people are coming in on the comments, and Super Chat will definitely read them for you, but we'll read some of the others as well when they come in about starting Strus. Is that a possibility, Brady?
We're saying for Jimmy Butler,
Yeah.
I mean, offensively, I think it makes sense just because you have an extra avenue, but I just can't see it defensively. Like a game without Jimmy Butler, I don't think you're trying to find offense as much as you're trying to find defense. Like you just need to put a body on Donovan Mitchell. We saw what happened the last time Miami played Utah and what Donovan Mitchell did when he was playing. I just don't think you can be comfortable throwing Max Strus onto Donovan Mitchell and kind of going that route. So I think we can see Max Strus, Duncan Robinson minutes. Like I think that's a possibility if you want to try different things out. And I think they can get more creative with those type of minutes. Maybe it will help Duncan Robinson kind of get going if they have another shooter to that degree on the floor. And I think if they're going to try things in any game, it would probably be a game like this where you kind of have guys out, especially if Bam's not playing. You're going to see some odd lineups all night. So I think there's kind of a possibility to go in a bunch of directions, but I just can't really see him starting.
Let's go bigger picture here, guys, because obviously this team was playing exceptionally well prior to the road trip. And I think the Denver game we can all kind of write off, that it's Denver, they never play well there. But I was at the two in LA, and I mean, really, the idea that they didn't come out with either of them. I mean, they had it. They had chances in both down the stretch, and just didn't make enough plays. Whether it was Herro missing the two shots, obviously some of the things that happened in the Laker game that Duncan Robinson missed, that then the Malik Monk three on the other end that changed the momentum. This is a little deflating. I mean, I don't think anybody anticipates that they win today, and I don't think anybody's going to give them a hard time if they don't. But to be 7-6, staring that in the face, and I guess the bigger question, guys, is has anything been exposed here? Because the conversations we're having before games, I guess you would have them with any best player is out. Like the Lakers are having them without LeBron. But again, the Lakers just beat the Heat without LeBron. The Clippers, have won 5 in a row without Kawhi. So, I mean, some of the things we talked about with depth as we're talking about, well, they don't have an option for this and they don't have an option for this.
No, it speaks to it.
I mean, maybe some of our concerns were a little bit more legitimate, whereas Spoelstra kept saying we believe our depth is our strength.
I know a couple weeks before the season started, you specifically talked about in the first 20, can they get through at 500? And I think you and I went back and forth about how, like, if they could just do that and weather that storm, that they could maybe build on that. And it's interesting that they started out so hot that then that became like an afterthought. We shifted the expectations way up. And now it's like a situation where, well, maybe after 20, if they can be a couple above 500, that's good, right? So I think it's a little difficult to get too concerned, but I will say, like, not squeaking out close games. Typically, Miami Heat teams that are contending teams, and they still can be this, they show up on the road in close games, and I just feel like there were some missed opportunities, obviously, but this stuff can turn around. But it obviously has taken the spin off the fastball.
Let's get this comment back in from Alex. Thanks, Alejandro. And the final team that he played on the road trip, Oklahoma City, is on a 4-game winning streak, of course. Right. I mean, sometimes it's when you play teams like the Heat just played the Clippers when the Clippers have sort of found something. I don't think that the Clippers' success is going to last the whole season without Kawhi, but they found a formula that then they used against Miami that worked. So OKC has beaten the Lakers twice, right? Or they were competitive with them once and lost them once. So I wouldn't say that is a definite win there. Let's get to this comment from our friend Lynette, and of course you can follow her at A Aggressive Insurance. She sponsors the Post Up Game, Post Up show with Royal and the rest of the crew here on 5R. Duncan is a real problem. I think that is kind of, to me, the takeaway from this trip so far. That I think some of us, and I'll include myself in this, Jonathan, we're sort of saying, okay, it will correct, right? It will correct. Heat fans are freaked out about nothing at this point because the team's still winning. He's still creating that gravity. But really, you can make a case that they at least split the games in LA if he's just playing at a normal level. So I think we're at the point now where I think you could say their record's probably 2 games better if Duncan is just being Duncan at this stage. Like I'm not attributing all the losses, but he just isn't giving them anything. And now we see they don't have anybody to replace him. Because now that you've worked Strus back in, but you need Strus to replace someone else.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, honestly, I think both LA games we could have won if Duncan was on point. There was times where momentum swings were going to be able to happen if he was just going to hit that shot. And like you said, momentum swings are just the name of the game when it comes to basketball. If you let the other team get going, it's just going to continue. And for the Clippers game, he had a wide open shot to give us a lead late in the game, man, and he just blew it. So like you said, it's tough to always put a win or a loss on one guy. But for him to be shooting as poorly as it is, it's to the point where it's no excuse, right? Schematically, you have to understand you got to shift, right? Everybody's saying maybe the ball is an issue because as a league, the league has been shooting worse than it has been for a couple of years as well. So maybe that's something that's an issue as well. But it's definitely an issue where if he doesn't get it figured out soon, it's going to contribute to more and more losses. And you're going to have to ask for a guy like Max Strus to actually come off the bench, step up and hit some threes. Because if it's not Duncan and if it's not Herro, I don't know who else is going to be hitting those threes.
Well, and to that point, Brady, I mean, we're hearing this from players around the league. For some, it's the ball. For some, it's the rule changes. And I do feel like we've had these kind of not heat, but NBA seasons before where there were complaints about changes that were made, and it takes 20 to 25 to 30 games for everybody to kind of adjust. And some teams and some players get buried in the process. Like I do feel like if the Heat had other options, Spoelstra might have cut Duncan's minutes already, but he just doesn't have anywhere else to go.
I don't know if they would go to that degree, like especially considering as we talk about that Duncan is Spo's guy. Like,
and they invested in him. You can't punt yet. You can't in any way, shape, or form, right?
So if we're saying that he got that contract because of Eric Spoelstra to a certain degree, like they gave him that money because Spo trusted him and he trusted the offense, there's no way Eric Spoelstra would go away from him, even if he goes through the next 30 games like this. Like, I don't see a way they could do that. But I do see a way that he's going to keep going to him. They're going to keep going and telling him to shoot as many shots as possible. And especially in games like this, like I said before, like this is a game where you tell him to get up another 17 shots. Like he did that one night where it was kind of just a rough night overall. He gets up 17 shots. This is when you do it. I think we're just going to keep saying the same thing. I don't know if it's the ball. Like I think we can look across the league, but I think it is, as we've said time and time again, it's in his head. Like it's just him. Like you don't miss shots. Hard, short, air balls, rim. Like it's not like he's missing something mechanically that it's just the same shot over and over is happening. Like it's just all over the place, and it's kind of a representation of in his head that everything's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I'm with you on this, and I wonder if he wanted that comment to get out, the one that he Sedano tweeted it, but Jimmy Jackson said it on the Clippers broadcast.
I don't think so.
That the contract is in his head a little bit. But it's just obvious. I mean, you can't,
Brother, didn't Kyle say something after one of those pressers? He like hinted at it a little bit. Like he said like about the contract. He's
he did. They paid us a lot of money. That's
right.
I think Jimmy's comment too about him being dumb. I mean, they're all trying whatever it is that they can try here. But I think to a certain degree, and I've covered a lot of teams like this before. When a guy is struggling, the players will back him for a period of time, particularly if there is a track record and if they like him, which I think in both cases that is true here. They like him and there's a track record of success there, and they like his story. But there always comes a point where a team is tired of carrying a guy. It happens. No matter how much you like the guy, it happens. And that is where this gets a little bit tricky for Spoelstra, okay? Because when you start to come out of games and you're like, and look at the Dolphins situation again prior, like Austin Jackson cost them 2 games and Jesse Davis earlier this year. Like there's no way around you. Just, I mean, they killed the quarterback. Okay. Like and there just comes a certain point where the players just don't defend it anymore. Like, and it's just becomes, it's like the elephant in the room. It's just the situation you don't want to talk about. Even if they lose today, okay, if he just went 4 of 8 from 3, I do think people would feel better. There'll be some who say, well, he did it in a loss. They weren't going to win anyway, but you just need to see something. Here we go. This is from Rashawn Robinson. I went to both games at Staples. I saw Duncan hit 9 threes in a row pregame and 3 threes in a row halftime. Now I see Spo's point. And I am with you. I was at both those. I watch Duncan in pregame all the time. He never misses. Okay. And he's not missing now, right? Brady, you saw the same. He does not miss. It's not a question of form. His form is fine. This is the most classic in his head situation I've ever seen. It's just, he hasn't changed his mechanics. I think what happened here is he came into the season with a couple of things. 1, the contract, and 2, the fact that the offense had changed. Okay. And I think the second is what probably led to some of the struggles early, like the offense changing and him not knowing how to adjust to it. But what happened is the second has now become the first, where now he's thinking about the contract and he's not living up to it. And this situation, it's like I said, when you try to sleep, you can't sleep. Okay. It's like he's trying to shoot so hard instead of just, mechanics, process, boom, up. You know what I'm saying, Greg?
Yeah, no. And it makes me think about it in these terms. And I actually tried to throw this question at Norris in this Twitter spaces that we did yesterday. It was really fun. It's like when he gets back from this West Coast road trip, who would he want to see least walking through the hallway? Is it Mickey? Is it Pat? Is it Andy? Because it does get weird because particularly with Duncan, he was paid to be a shooter. And it's so prevalent in what they want from him that when that thing doesn't happen, it's just so loud. So I if nothing else happens today, I don't know if Bam's going to play. I am expecting that they're not going to probably get this one. Let's just get a game from Duncan where he shoots 40% or better from 3. Let's take that as a moral victory today.
I'm with you. By the way, what's this? All my homies hate Sedano. Was that George? George didn't actually do anything wrong. He just reported what Jimmy Jackson said on the broadcast. But I'll let that stand because I'll let that stand. Even though I did share a bottle of wine with him the other night. All right, let's get to the picks here tonight. John, I mean, you are. I will say this: you have replaced Greg as sort of I would say the most confident in victories here of late. I feel like
I'll be back.
You'll be right. But I mean, you can't, I mean, today just right. I mean, can you?
Hey, no matter what, we got to give it a shot, right? Tyler Herro drops 40 points tonight. Duncan Robinson is going to hit 10+ threes. We're going to see Uncle Deadman get 30 points and 10 rebounds. I don't care how it happens. I'm still going to put it out there in the universe. He'd get it done somehow. We'll get a good shooting game. We haven't got a good shooting game recently. We haven't held teams to under 110 points in the last 5 or the last 6. We do a little bit of defense. We shoot a little better than we usually do. And I think we get it done somehow, miraculously.
Brady, that is the way to win today, though. It feels like you need this is a little more reference for Greg, but you need a Rex Chapman game to a certain degree here. It does feel like the way to win tonight is to spread the floor and finally make some threes. And they may be easier for them to make because I feel like some of this is pressure related. And maybe you're not expected to win a game. We've seen that before and you can jump out. But my feeling, Brady, is that they'll do that early and it'll be one of those games where it's like, oh, wow, the Heat are shooting the lights out early and they're really in it. And then the fact that Utah has better players on the floor will ultimately take over in the second half, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I'm not somebody that blames Duncan after these games, but I think it's clear to say up front that if he doesn't shoot well tonight, they're not winning this game even close. It's something that has to be said there. And I think the only thing I do agree with Jonathan with, I don't really think the Heat win this one, but I do think the one thing is I think Tyler has a big game. We look at the matchup last game, Bam and Kyle being able to have those big quarters was because of the defense thrown out of them with the switches, and they were able to attack those mismatches all night. This drop is where Tyler just really thrives, and I think Jimmy Butler as well. He's going to have one of those major shot attempt games. He's going to put the ball up a ton tonight, and I think he probably has a 35-point night. Like that's just what this game feels like. But I do think Miami. I think this game is close at the end of the third, and they just early fourth, it just kind of falls apart.
It feels to me a little bit like the game against Philadelphia last year, where everybody had COVID, and Tyler was one time he kind of carried them last year. In that game. I think the drop feeds into Tyler perfectly, particularly with the mid range and his ability to kind of get to that shot, in sort of that 15 to 18 foot space on the pull up. But I'm picking the Heat to keep this thing close, make it interesting. I'm going to be at the Santa Monica Pier to try to find a television at halftime and then watch them lose by 13. To me, that's what this feels like today. And then more panic will ensue. Greg, you're going the Jonathan route or the Brady route?
Heat win by 2.
All right, look at that. The two of you, at least you stay consistent. There are the guts. All right, Utah by 13 today. But again, I might take the Heat in the first half. If you take a look, if you go to betus.com and use the code 5, I might take them in the first half.
I bet Riley hates those first half type bets.
Those, yeah. Take a look too at prizepicks.com. Use the code 5. Thanks to our sponsors, Biscayne Bay Brewing and Mark Brown. I'll be back on the podcast on Sunday night, and then back at the game on Wednesday. Thanks, everyone.
Post up after.
Yep.
What do you take away from games where you were within 3 points at the end of both games, competing the way you did on back-to-back nights, sort of glass half full, half empty? What's your takeaway from the 2 nights together?
Got to figure out how to close the game with this point. The last 2 games, we didn't execute on the stretch. I heard it, but
And you got up to really strong offensive start and kind of get to all your spots. Eric said maybe got away from it a little bit the second half because the offense wasn't as organized. Were they having trouble sort of finding you in those situations? But it did seem like you were able to exploit things in the first half.
had a couple miscommunications. We rushed a little bit. We'll figure it out.
That was 22 points in the fourth quarter. What did you kind of see flip with him there late in the game when he tried to bring you guys back?
Over at that point. Definitely can see what he's capable of and really what he has in his package. I like that guy. I like that type of guy. I like that aggressive guy. I like the way he got to his spots. Feed off of that.
Are you guys on him to be that aggressive? I know he came in here with a pass first mentality, make others comfortable around him. Are you guys on him to be more aggressive?
I am. I want him to shoot the ball. I want him to score because that's another threat in the lineup. So I like when he gets everybody involved, but every once in a while I do want him to bring a shot.
Anything else, guys? Thanks, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Tyler, two close losses. You guys battled to the end despite a lot of adversity. What are there positives you could take away from these 2 games?
I mean, I think there's always positives and things to learn from. Anytime you do those 2 games, we just did we fought very hard to the end in both games. So you watch the film, and there's always things you can take away from close losses.
Tyler, we've seen guys go off big time in short stretches. You against Boston in the East semifinals, Jimmy, performance in the finals. Tonight, Kyle gets 22 in the fourth quarter. How heartening is that to know you have those kind of guys, yourself, Jimmy, Kyle, maybe others, that can give you that kind of burst that what seems like it's lost with 11-point deficit, all of a sudden it's a 1-point game?
Yeah, I feel like we're always in the game. Even Duncan and Max, those guys are guys who can really knock down 3-4 shots in a row and cut the game, cut the lead in half. So I mean, they're we got a bunch of guys that are able to score, multiple buckets in one quarter.
For Kyle, especially what he can do. I mean, he had a 3-point three-pointer, 3-point play, 4-point play, and even a steal that could have led to the go-ahead basket. I mean, sort of talk to what he can do in a short burst to change a game.
Yeah, he's a veteran. He knows, the right plays to make, and like I said before, he can get 20 on any given night. So, he's a guy that can, very knightable in those situations.
Anything else, gentlemen? All right, thanks, folks.
Thank you. Is 2 games on the road, 1 shorthanded in this one, 2 3-point games. Is this sort of do you try to look at it half full, or what do you take out of these 2 nights?
Yeah, these experiences are very important, for your team to go through. When you have stress of competition, you have close games, you have a lot of emotions, and you have no one else to lean on except for yourselves. And these, I think, are great opportunities to improve. As disappointing as these kind of games can be, you just have to stay the course, stay with it, stay together. That's basically what I told the guys, in the locker room after the game. We're doing a lot more good things, than not to put ourselves in a position to win. We just had 2 games where we came up short.
Kyle at the end and just his fortitude, almost to will it single-handedly.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's very impressive. The second night of a back-to-back, we really didn't have a whole lot going offensively. We were, keeping this game close with a lot of grit and timely, scores off defensive possessions. But in the fourth quarter, he just, really generated a lot, for us offensively. And, it was pretty much, just following his lead to be able to get right back into the game and have an opportunity.
Last play, can you just tell us what the
It just
goal
got
was?
deflected. I don't want to go through all the options of it. I have to see it. Batum made a great play. He's super long, guy has great instincts. If it went over the top of him, I thought that Kyle might have been open for a count. They would probably say otherwise. Either way, they made a good defensive play to seal the game.
Eric, Bam got off to such a strong offensive start and got away from him a little bit in the second half. Did they do something differently defensively?
No, they were playing him more with Batum and some of their other guys. I think our offensive organization in the second half, in general, wasn't great. The spacing, just getting organized in the initial trigger, and I think a lot of us, suffered from that.
You haven't played like zone before tonight. What was it thinking how to move to play zone, and how do you think it fared tonight against us?
Yeah, I thought it was impactful at times. They're a very good offensive team, so they have really good 3-point shooting. They share the ball. It's not an easy team to play man or zone. Just wanted to do whatever we felt was necessary to put ourselves in a position on the road. At times in the first half it was effective, and we didn't go to it as much in the second.
And we asked you about Duncan yesterday, but how does his past success, do you think, maybe help better for him to kind of handle these kind of slumps he's going through?
Yeah, look, it's a tough league. And so you know, more often than not have to manage disappointment of not playing up to whatever standards you may have. And that's not exclusive to Duncan. You know, that's virtually every single player in this league. And you have to manage those emotions, stay the course. He has uncommon persistence. He'll break through. I have no doubt about that. His teammates the same way, and the staff the same way. So you just have to stay the course. At the end of the day, we still put ourselves in a position, you know, to have an opportunity to win. You know, even without shooting a great percentage from the 3-point line.
What did you think on Max being out for a period of time? What did you think of his minutes?
Oh, they were good minutes. You know, but this is the thing about competition of an NBA basketball game. There's so many different ways you can impact winning. And it's unfortunate that, you know, everybody just weighs so much on that final call on the box score. You know, how many points did you score and what was your shooting percentage? But I thought Max, you know, really provided some great spacing, you know, for us and did some good things defensively. And the most important thing, he was just back out of the court, you know, and how we all felt after that, not this game.
All right, thanks.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle, a pair of 3-point losses back-to-back nights, but on the road, shorthanded second one. What do you take out of this 2-game set?
Just continue to get better. You know, we had opportunities and yeah, we take full advantage of it. It happens. We just gotta continue. We got 2 more in this trip. We gotta focus on the next one and just go from there.
Was there something you saw in the fourth quarter where you said it's sort of go time for you, 22 points in the fourth quarter, a steal that could have led to the go-ahead basket? Was you saying it's go time? Was the game coming to you? Or sort of take us through your fourth quarter, if you could, please?
Trying to win a game. Whatever it takes to win the game. You know, I haven't been like the super aggressive scorer, but I know I can still do it. You know, I think it was just like time to try to just find a way to get a win. And you know, I had opportunity. I attacked a lot more. And just be a little bit more assertive on my team, but it doesn't matter because we lost the game.
I spoke last night about how you guys haven't shot the ball maybe as well as you guys have liked, you know, from 3-point range. Tonight, I guess it's a continuation of that, but do you like the look you guys are generating and they're just not falling? Or what do you feel about the look you guys are getting?
Really good shots. I mean, Duncan's the only one that's kind of getting those really hard contested shots, you know. You know, where Tyler's getting some contested ones, I'm getting a couple contested ones. Gabe missed 2 and Matt rolling out. Max, you know, Max coming back, he hit the first 2 and then kind of maybe lost his legs a little bit. We got great shots all night. You know, we got our goal. We shot the amount of attempts that we wanted to get, and it's just missing right now.
You play a lot of zone, I guess, with Toronto under Nick Nurse, but this is your first time playing zone with the Heat. How do you feel like it impacted?
I mean, it was good. It was a good switch up. You know, that's the one thing about coaching and coaches that are really good. And you can coach him tonight. He felt it. He felt it, and he felt like, you know, the amount of minutes. I don't know what his thought process was, but assuming the amount of minutes, you know, switch up the flow, kind of changed the momentum of everything, and kind of, you know, it was working. So, you know, he wants us to continue to, you know, work on that because, you know, we'll be using that long term.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Outside of the club.